Hello, friends, and welcome to Your Daily Detroit. Coming to you from a wet and damp North End studio, I'm Jer Stays. It is Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. And across the table from me is...
Cheyenne Oserini.
I hear that you are a karate auction champion.
I did win the karate auction for my kids' yearly auction. So, yes, I am the winner.
So, are you doing the karate?
No, my child will be doing the karate.
Did you win anything?
I won pasties.
Ooh.
A gift certificate to Barb's Pasties in Clawson, which is our favorite local pasty place. It gets the Uper seal of approval.
That's right. You're married to a Uper.
I am married to a Uper.
Oh, boy.
And I also won a $50 gift certificate to Diamond Gyms in Royal Oak.
You got them all.
I was a very busy parent.
You were like the Pokemon collector of gift cards.
I was, but you know what? They were all the small ones because there were people who were spending an awful lot of money at this auction. And I was like, nope, do not raise my hand. Also, another high moment for me was during the dueling pianos. Me and another parent, my son's best friend's parent, we went in halvesies so they would play the Wreck of them and Fitzgerald.
If there is anything more Michigan, I don't know what it is.
I know.
All right. Well, today's show, we're covering 4 topics. A judge is keeping SMART running in Auburn Hills for now. Our fundraiser festivals with rides no longer a thing. Crash Detroit is not returning. And Pepsi is unveiling a new Pepsi-Roni. That'll be at the end because anyway. Want to make sure to thank our members at Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit, as well as those who support us at buymeacoffee.com/dailydetroit before we get started. All right, elected leaders in Auburn Hills are continuing to push to leave SMART, the suburban bus system. Oakland County Circuit Court Judge Daniel O'Brien issued an order denying the city of Auburn Hills and their request to leave the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority. That oversees the millage that funds the SMART bus system in the county. It's a very complicated system because of home rule and all the different things that are happening. I will footnote that a strong majority, supermajority of Auburn Hills voters approved SMART 4 years ago, but it's on the ballot again, and it is a different environment and financial environment right now. And although groups like the Rochester Riders are very confident saying that voters are with them, I'm always a little nervous when an advocacy group is that confident about this, especially in a situation where we have a lot of Auburn Hills listeners. And what I hear from them is a lot of on the fenceness, a lot of questioning. This gets into the idea of, is Metro Detroit like over sprawled? And I think this gets back to the root of, this is the same story we're having over and over and over again, Shy.
Everything old is new again. I feel like every couple years there's another city or
group of cities
that want out of SMART.
And we're not talking about growing.
No. And it's frustrating to me that we don't have a regional transit system.
Well, some would argue SMART is, but one that has more efficacy. And let's put our cards on the table here. We're both transit riders and have been, right? Like you used to ride the bus every day for work.
Yeah, I used to ride it every day to work, both when I lived in Grosse Pointe and when I lived in Ferndale. And even when I didn't live in Metro Detroit, I was a bus rider. It's frustrating to me that there isn't a system that really, truly is a regional system.
But isn't part of the problem the geographics of Metro Detroit? So I've been traveling a lot, as you know. And what I've noticed is that we are really sprawled. And in all but official title, lots of our communities are basically rural. So I was looking up the numbers for this. And I saw that Auburn Hills' population per square mile is about 1,200 to 1,300 people per square mile. Now, data shows, like reports are showing, that it's about 3,000 people per square mile for just a basic bus service to work. And I was going through different cities and realizing that no wonder we have these kinds of issues, because to people, it's not culturally what they do. Now, some people will say, well, they did vote for it. Maybe they voted for it, but they're not culturally for it, right? Like you don't see Auburn Hills ridership through the roof. And I mean, it is only a town of 21,000, but the key is that there are a number of employers and big things there. You've got Stellantis, who is very tepid about transit. They are not getting involved in this.
What, you mean a car company is tepid about?
Yeah, but GM and Ford have been active about this conversation. I'm going to push back on that.
I think it's a different beast out there,
Yeah.
right? Because they are all the way out in Auburn Hills.
Yeah. I mean, OU has shown support for transit, but, I keep hearing these things on social media, but then when I talk to listeners that are out that way, I hear a completely different thing. This next election is going to be very telling because I don't think we should assume anything on any ballot anywhere gets approved if it's asking for money, considering the inflation situation that's going on right now and how many Metro Detroiters are just being pulled apart at the gas pump. When it was 50 cents, whatever, 75 cents up, it was doable. Now people are just getting blown out. And it's because our region is so far apart. It's so stretched. I've got friends crossing town to take their kids to summer camp.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, my husband works in Auburn Hills. I mean, granted, he's only going to the office once a week right now. But before, there was no easy way for him to take transit. And so
even with Smart.
So he never took it because how was he supposed to get from point A to point B without walking?
Well, that gets down to the idea of, to be clear, like I am somebody who thinks the smart millage should pass. I think we need to have that basic level. But I would like to see a discussion about how to do it right. Because we're in this never-ending cycle of the bare minimum, which is below the minimum of what you need, and we're not actually providing the services that we should. We need to have like a strong bus rapid transit, like the fast projects are great, but we need to have a strong spine down Woodward and some other major areas. We need more east-west routes.
Yep.
I also know that takes money. And the problem is we're in this cycle. We're in the broke cycle. When you're broke and you got some money coming in, but you don't have enough money to pay all your notes.
Right. So then you're just like, okay, well, I think this month I'm going to pay my, I guess I'm paying my water this month.
Yeah.
And then next month, I think maybe I can pay my electricity.
It is something like 29 miles from this studio to Auburn Hills.
Yes.
That is an insane distance to try to cover. And I want places to have transit. I'm for it. But also, like, I am coming to the strong realization that we need to create a density zone in Metro Detroit for investment, for all these things. As long as we are this sprawled out, I don't think we can fix our problems. Think about our sewer issues. You heard the interview with Josh Elling from JIBA talking about not just on the east side, but all over. I think we need to take and get a fresh sheet of paper when it comes to a number of things where we can. And I think one of them, I think we should approve what we do with Smart, but I also think it's time for a fresh sheet of paper to say, where do things actually make sense? What can we do to truly serve the community at a level that they can rely on instead of this, well, it shows up, it's infrequent, there's some routes here and there. Like make something that people feel like they can rely on because I think frequency is so important, but all these things don't happen without money.
I see it from a financial standpoint. I see it from the fact that we're all just kind of sprawled out here and that goes to a whole like density problem because everybody just builds single family homes because of zoning in Metro Detroit.
Great episode on 99 PI this week, by the way, about the missing of middle housing. And I don't mean like necessarily middle class, but middle sized. The city of Detroit demolished a lot of those buildings and all over the region. It's the idea that those 2, 3, 4-story buildings or quadruplexes where you can have more housing stock. We got rid of that. And so we have more inequity.
Right. I mean, I know, for instance, like Oak Park has like none. What we have here is we have a bunch of people in single family homes. And as sprawl has continued to happen and people are moving farther and farther away from one another, there is a density problem because there's only one family per house. Whereas if you were in an urban environment with multiple houses, multiple families in one building, there is more opportunity for people to take mass transit. And so as a family, obviously, it's really hard if you have multiple children to get on a bus and have to go like down 9 Mile and go up Woodward and do all the transfers and everything. But if I had to do it, I would do it. But if I were to live in Auburn Hills and I didn't have a car, it would be horrible because I would have no way to get anywhere unless I took an Uber, which is cost prohibited.
Well, they're starting to do the Smart Flex thing, but that's not really well marketed, right?
No.
So it goes to the idea that not only, and this hit me when I was in Chicago, there's ads for transit like on the Facebook.
Right.
Right? Like, hey, you could do this. And in reality, you could go from an outer suburb into the city at a time that's kind of close to driving. Like, I see what you're saying. I worry more from the cost perspective that, Metro Detroit just doesn't make the money that it used to. And it's squeezing people. Like, a stronger case has to be made for these things, because we have to understand that, it's great as me as like a single person or people I know that are advocates in that way. But when you're a family, every dollar counts.
How do you feel about Oakland County trying to just say all of Oakland County should vote as a whole instead of doing it city by city? Because that's what Macomb County does.
Right. Also, Macomb County could lose it.
They could absolutely
right, because that was only
it.
by a few votes.
Exactly.
When I think they're different animals. I think it's going to be really difficult to pull off because you've got two different areas. There needs to be a clear plan showed that you're going to service those outer areas in a different way than the inner areas. Until you up that rate, I don't know how you fix any of this stuff. In theory, like it, but I also know from a practical perspective that we really should redraw the lines to where cities have more of that 3,000 or so per square mile. The other ones, it's really hard to make that case. And I'm pro-transit. Like, I feel like we should focus the resources where it makes sense and admit to ourselves that this region isn't growing, and to say, hey, if you're in a more rural area, you're in a more rural area. That's just it. I understand the desire for it. I see why people want to do it. I don't know if it's going to make it. So, Cheyenne, something came across your inbox that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So I saw that St. Joan of Arc in St. Clair Shores will not be bringing back the big rides.
That is a Catholic school?
It is a Catholic school.
Okay.
It's something that, like, both you and I grew up going to. And so, obviously,
the East Side thing. Like, it was a big thing. Like, there was rides and the spinny things and the cotton candy and all that.
It was always the weekend before Memorial Day. It was like the kickoff to summer, St. Joan of Arc Fair. Everybody's there. You go, you have fun, you go with your friends. Obviously, it got canceled because of the pandemic. And then they kind of brought back like a food truck festival.
I mean, I haven't been in so long.
I mean, let's not mince words. I haven't been since I was in high school, and that was like over 20 years ago.
Right.
So obviously, things have changed. Monsignor Mike put out a letter to parishioners basically saying big rides are out, unfortunately, saying, quote, every year brought more challenges and more liability with the rides and the crowds. We tried the approach with the perimeter fence, but that only had limited success, end quote. So, unfortunately, the fair of the past is gone.
I've seen this in a couple other different places. It makes me think like, God, there's always multiple things at play, right? I think one is that these are fundraiser events. Mm-hmm. And if they don't make money, they don't exist. And the reality is that capitalism exists everywhere, even in the nonprofit world. And when you raise up the liability costs and the cost of rides and tents and all that other stuff, it starts to be a sense where not always is bigger better.
Right.
Like, one of the things we've learned covering businesses, sometimes being bigger doesn't mean you make money. Sometimes it means you lose money.
And I just want to say, he was transparent in his letter. He said they were going to try and do like maybe a couple tents during the food truck festival to have like a couple like community events during the weekend. But after doing the tents, white picket fence, porta potties, tables, chairs, etc., plus the cost of security and setting up all the electrical and networking stuff and liability insurance, they were going up to $70,000 in cost.
Wow. The shame about this is that it means fewer places for those younger adults and kids to go, right? Like, I really worry that we don't have enough places for them to go. Like, the people need stuff to do on the weekends, or they go do sketchy stuff.
Right.
Like, just what is? Everyone's done sketchy stuff. If you haven't done sketchy stuff, I don't know.
You're lying.
You're lying. You haven't lived. Hashtag Ashland Bump. But that's my worry. And whether it is, and I know that there's a lot of overtones with this entire thing. Like, some people do not like people from outside of their community, and we know what that means, come into their community.
Right.
That is, of course, gross, 100%.
Yes.
But also there needs to be more stuff for people to go to, more stuff that's monitored, like more, like, it's just the same thing I think about with the street racers. Do I like them? No. Do I think they should have a track? Absolutely.
Let's do
Give
something.
them a place to go do their thing. Like, I think I know that takes away a little bit of the mystique from it, but people need outlets to do stuff. I also can't help but think, though, do you remember that viral video of that like mini Ferris wheel that started, or not Ferris wheel, but ride that started tipping and everybody had to jump onto it and hold on, and all the lawsuits with that?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a good fair and festival carnival thing, but you won't see me on any big rides because I'm terrified of them.
But fairs and festivals aren't completely out, especially if they're not fundraisers, right?
One of the things, Jared and I were talking about, like, are they completely out? And no, they're not. Like, I know, for instance, Oak Park is having their big fair, like their summer blowout, and they're going to actually have a fair this year with like big rides. And
so they're doing all the things.
So they're doing all the things.
When is that?
So that's going to be June 17th through 19th. The city is taking on the liability, right? It's not like a small. And
they don't have to, like, it's not a fundraiser, right?
No, it's not a fundraiser. We're putting this on for the community.
Right.
Whereas like this isn't a small Catholic parish that's putting on a fair trying to raise money.
Again, capitalism isn't everything.
Yeah, it is. This one was near and dear to my heart, and I kind of cried when I read it. But Crash Detroit is officially done.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the organizers. I know, it was such a good time. It was a vibe.
It was a vibe. So if you hadn't gone, I feel bad for you because it'd been at the Roosevelt Park outside the Michigan Central Station and the Lincoln Street Art Park, depending on the year. Marching bands, like huge New Orleans, as you
like
say,
street
vibe.
Bands.
Street bands, like having competitions and doing their thing. And it was just so unique and artsy. And I did end up going to that last one in 2019 before the pandemic hit. And then that kind of shut things down for them, I had heard. But you've got this word that they're done. So why?
On their Facebook page, they said, quote, "For those of you wondering if Crash is returning this year, unfortunately, it is not. The amount of time it takes to pull this fabulous weekend off, it no longer balances out with our young families, careers, etc. We had a great run and would like to thank the amazing bands, community supporters, volunteers, and attendees over the years. We love you. Thanks for the memories," end quote.
Many good memories. Like,
so
you and I have met up there before.
Yeah.
Like, it was, and I mean, we need stuff like that. I hope that with this going away, some more people get excited to create that kind of artistic, creative stuff, because that is the kind of thing that helps make a city worth living. And I know there's other stuff out there. And if you're around an event that's really cool like that, go ahead and message us, dailydetroit@gmail.com. We'd love to get the word out, whatever, because it's important. We have stuff that people can get together and do things, especially now that we're on the other, not completely other side, but now we're on a different side of the pandemic.
I think the thing about Crash that made it so special was, one, yeah, it was music. It was live music. It was a lot of fun. But it was a crowd of everybody from like little kids to single people to elderly people. The age range was so great. And it was like one of those things, it was family friendly. I used to bring my oldest to it. You could build your own instruments so the kids could like play their own instruments. So it was like interactive and it was a lot of fun. And man, it just really hurts that this is gone. And like we said, if there is any event like this that brings the community together, that's like all age ranges and fun like this, let us know, because we need more like this, especially going into summer.
And we'll have you on the show for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know if this one will help your hurt heart. It might actually give you heartburn. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But this thing is making the rounds on the internet, and people are chatting about it because people love their big brands and pizza and all of those things. Pepsi's saying there's going to be a new Pepsi-roni, meaning they are infusing the flavor of Pepsi into pepperoni. And I quote here that it is going to be layers of sweet and citrus zests Pepsi is known for, with the standard spice blends found in pepperoni. So there's going to be a Pepsi Zero Sugar Reduction instead of the water typically used in pepperoni preparation. That's how they're doing this. I've gotten really into the food nerdery because there's a lot of sites talking about it. I want to get how they're doing it. They're doing a Pepsi reduction. Is that anything like a butternut reduction?
I don't know, but I wish you guys could see my face right now because I am horrified.
And here is the deal. It's apparently launching in New York, but it's coming here with brands like Pizza Hut, Little Caesars, Papa John's, Marco's, and Hungry Howie's, which means it's going to be in a lot of places if this takes off. I am twitching and I'm scared. I'm open to trying anything, and I will try just about anything. You're talking to a person who has eaten crickets. But this one, I don't mind a Pepsi. I don't mind pizza. They go together. We've all done it. When we posted this on the Slack, engineer Randy sent the sad yeehaw emoji, which really tells you everything you need to know.
I would much rather just drink a Pepsi and eat my slice of pizza and have the two be separate.
We're going to try this. You know that's happening, right?
I know. I know.
And I'm going to keep my mind open.
Can I be sick that day?
And with that, we are done. That was your Daily Detroit. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had a laugh with us and thought about what's happening in your community a little bit. As always, thank you to those behind the scenes to make things happen. Randy Walker, Fletcher Sharp, Cheyenne Nocerini. I will thank you in person right here. I appreciate when you can come on the show and share the air with me.
Absolutely. It's always great to be here.
Now, remember that our 1000th episode get together is on June 10th at the Congregation over on Rosa Parks or 12th Street. I'm very excited about it.
Me too. I am looking forward to spending some time, preferably away from my children, and and seeing all of our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a happy hour thing. It'll be on a Friday. All right, well, with that, I'm Jared Stays.
And I'm Cheyenne Nocerini.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.